Hello, everyone. I see quite a lot of people still joining, so we're not gonna start with the whole thing just yet. We'll keep this slightly off topic until we are absolutely certain that everyone has joined who wanted to join. We have quite a lot of participants today. We actually hit a record of, let me just check the numbers, over 700 people were joining. Almost 800 people on Link3 said they will be attending this call, so there's quite a lot of people to fill in. Hope everyone's doing well today. We have quite a bit of a discussion happening. I'm sure many of you are very much curious about all of these topics that we wanted to have for you guys. Obviously, I see that a lot of people joined the raffle as well. We have 400, 600 participants of the raffle, and so this is starting now. The winners will be announced during the call, I believe. So you'll be able to stay in the know. Anyway, while the people are still joining, I'll tell you the brief idea behind this call and what you expect to learn from it and what's going to happen during the call, and obviously what's the conclusion. So I'm joined today by Aldin, our CPO, and today we're going to be discussing account abstraction. It's I won't call it a new term, but it's a very, very hot topic in the Web3 space right now, as everyone is talking about EIP 4337 and they are talking about account abstraction in general. And it's a very, very popular topic. And there's many crypto users who perhaps want to know more, but are not sure where to start or how it works or how does that work for them, or what's the general idea behind this. So today we're going to be talking about a couple of things. We're going to discuss what account abstraction actually is and why it's such a popular topic. Why is it so important? While we're still on this topic, we're also going to talk about these EIPs, or Ethereum Implementation Protocols. We're going to be talking about EIPs because there's a couple of them that you need to know, and it will be good for you to know because they'll be mentioned a lot either on Twitter or any other space where account abstraction, everything related to that is happening. And obviously, you're probably wondering, how will this affect yourself as an average crypto user? Like, what are some example of account abstraction right now? Like, how does it compare to how does Web 2 and Web 3 compare in terms of account abstraction? How does that work, and why is it such a good thing? And finally, once we conclude all of this, we'll be also talking about some Pillar Wallet tech updates, but we'll keep you in the know once that arrives. Anyway, Alden, I hope you're doing well today. I just want to welcome you on the stage because it's going to be the two of us today. We're going to be talking a lot about account abstraction. So let me just see how you are feeling about all this.
Hey everybody, just checking my mic. Is it working?
Excellent. All good.
Perfect. Yeah, welcome everybody. I'm excited to talk to you about account abstraction with Danis in a podcast kind of style, I guess, that we're going to go with today. I see there's about 61 people joining us, so 63 right now. And yeah, a bit of an introduction to about myself. I work mostly on two projects. Pillar Wallet and Etherspot. Account abstraction is a new term, but it's actually been around for quite some time. It was flying under the banner Smart Wallets. With this new EIP 4337 standard, there's a different way of doing it than the old way, which we are kind of experts at because we've been running a smart contract-based wallet for the last, I think, 3 years now. So it's a natural progression.
Yeah, it's been 3 years.
Yeah, exactly. It's a natural progression for us to adopt this, and I'm excited to see the space moving towards this. And like, we're kind of back in the day, smart contract-based wallets are kind of treated like second class citizens in the Web3 spectrum because of this new push that's coming predominantly by Vitalik regarding how do we fix this user experience, and how do we fix it without needing to implement a protocol level integration. So how do we build infrastructure on the EVM or Ethereum chains that will allow user experience to be so much better that it will allow us to onboard the next billion users. So yeah.
Right. Okay. good introduction. Good introduction. I just wanted to, slowly start going into AA. You mentioned that it's popular now, but it exists from before, and that we are very accustomed to it. I guess that we had a way of dealing with this as we've been working on a smart wallet for quite some time now. But like in account extraction, like what does it even mean to someone who hears it the first time? Like they know about this, but I'm not sure people understand that this is very, very much actually happening in the real world on Web2 as well. And why is it so important in Web3? Like, let's start from the beginning. Like, what is account extraction?
Well, the name comes really from abstracting all the difficult and pain points away from like owning an account. If you are familiar, and I assume most of you are in this space because you're probably used to setting up your MetaMask or your Trust or Rainbow wallet, you're familiar with the same way of like the operations that we've all come accustomed to, which is I have to, store these 12 words. And if without these 12 words, I'm completely lost and I lose all access to my account. But then there's another aspect, which is like if I want to execute an action, and you can take an example for anyone who has done like liquidity mining, for example, who wants to participate in a liquidity pool. There's a lot of steps that you need to take. There's a lot of steps that you need to execute on. So, for example, if I wanted to use a specific token, I need to approve that token first. If I wanted to like add liquidity to a liquidity pool, I need to buy another token first. Then I need to sign another transaction to add liquidity pool tokens. Then I need to, sorry, stake these liquidity pool tokens, and finally get to where I need. This is a lot of steps. This is not the most user-friendly experience. This is also one of the reasons that I believe that most of our users that come first into contact with crypto are using centralized exchanges, are using custodial services where you don't actually own your assets anymore, but this exchange does. And because of the user experience, so like think about it, you're signing up with your email on Coinbase or Binance, you're buying some tokens and off you go, you're trading with one-click actions all the time. And you don't have this kind of experience with MetaMask. You don't have this experience with any of the what we call the old wallets, externally owned accounts. What account abstraction aims to do is in the name, is abstract all these pitfalls away from owning an account, from executing multiple transactions in one go, so we can get to the same level of user experience that centralized exchanges have or a custodial service might have. And that's where literally it comes from on the high level. We can get into more technical side. I'm not sure if we want to get into that right now, or we can discuss like where the space was before and how we are moving ahead.
Well, as we call this like account extraction for newbies, let's stick to the more basic stuff. We say why it's here. So it's also called EIP 43337, and there's also a couple of EIPs people should know about. Maybe we should talk about them first before we go into more detailed topics. Like, what are these EIPs for? What do they serve? How long have they been here for? What do they improve? What do they do? People perhaps want to know about this.
Well, we're starting at the beginning. We should go like how it was before this. Like I said before, 3 years ago, we developed an SDK called Etherspot, which is a smart contract-based wallet infrastructure play, where we have taken a stance of like how the user experience can be done and how the user experience can be built in a way that's much more streamlined, like I mentioned before, with one-click actions. Now, this infrastructure is completely different what the infrastructure is that 4337 is proposing. We use, for example, relayers that is dependent on our infrastructure. So any transaction that's being performed by the user on the smart contract-based wallet has to go through our infrastructure, and only our infrastructure, because that's the relationship between the two. What the new EIP is proposing is that we standardize this. We standardize the way that smart contract-based wallets interact with services on any EVM chain, but Ethereum predominantly, and how do we engage the execution of smart contract-based wallets. So it's an evolution that we're seeing right now of the next stage, and it's standardization, because before that you had Pillar Wallet and Etherspot, but you also had Argent, you also had a couple of other wallets that are doing this kind of thing, like Sequence as well. But all they're using is a central point of failure, which is their infrastructure that is required to operate these smart contract-based wallets. Without that infrastructure, you can't do much. You can only basically remove your assets from a wallet. You don't need the infrastructure for that. But anything else that you might want to do, you need that infrastructure. So this new proposition, the EIP 4337, is proposing a standardization of all sorts of operations. There's a couple of things that, like on the technical side, how things are working, and we can get into that right now. But the main gist of it is it's a new push of like standardizing smart contract based wallets and new accounts. It's an evolution. And the most important bit is it's like a high level infrastructure that's on Ethereum. So it doesn't require any kind of protocol changes or any kind of soft fork or anything like that. It's mostly built on all these all this infrastructure. So when we're looking at like how does 4337 work, there is it's sort of a different way. Like we used to have meta transactions, which is kind of a way of like telling another person to execute a transaction. The, kind of similar to the way it's working. It's working as a pseudo transaction. And what does this mean? It's basically an operation, and we call this user operation inside the EIP, where you are basically compiling or bundling the transaction that the user wants to do. This then is sent to a bundle service, and the bundle service at this point basically pulls the transactions from the public mempool or private ones, and they package these user operations and submit it to the blockchain. Now, I know this is getting technical, so bear with me. On the blockchain itself, there's another contract. It's called the entry point. And this handles the verification and execution of these transactions by the wallets, by the smart contract-based wallet that the user owns. There's another angle that's involved here with something called a paymaster and an aggregator. A paymaster allows a project or a user to, for example, sponsor transactions that the user doesn't need to pay for, or alternatively, you could then use another wallet to pay for transactions while you in your own wallet don't need to have the gas token at all. You could just basically assign somebody who's going to pay for your transactions. Then there's also aggregators that aggregate signatures, so you don't have to multiply assign to all these things that you want to do. So there's a lot of moving pieces, but the most important thing is that the user experience becomes much better for anyone having a smart contract based wallet, which is what we want. The user doesn't necessarily need to know about all these operations. It's more for the technical side and for people that are implementing it. The only thing that they need to know is that they're secure and they can execute with one-click actions.
Okay, simplified as it is. Give me an example. This might be an interesting one. Using account extraction to perfect everything, basically make everything simpler for users. How would this affect a user in like take for example like a crypto utopia where account extraction is everywhere and you have like a super smart wallet? And what would be some of the examples that currently we are facing as a problem and the entire actually industry is facing as a problem that account extraction would solve? You know, make it simpler. Maybe make it very similar to Web 2 for some examples even.
Well, yeah. So like smart contract based wallets can accept any kind of connection to them. So meaning that we can open the door for social logins, for example, which most people use, or email addresses that are associated with your smart contract based wallet. So you become like completely seedless. That's one of the fortes that you can use. The other one is like using a different account to pay for transactions that we mentioned before. So sponsor transactions. So let's say I'm a game that is launching soon, and I want my users to not need a gas token at all. I will sponsor everything for them, and I want to deploy on a cheap chain, let's say Polygon, for example. I can do that by assigning a paymaster, and they are just clicking and tapping buttons, and they're on their way. They don't need to know anything about gas tokens. This is not possible in the old world. This is only possible in the smart contract-based world. Now, there's a lot of other things, so like transaction batching, for example, where we batch all the different actions that the user might take. The previous example that I used, liquidity mining, if anybody has done that before and like is bothered about like executing multiple transactions to achieve one action, you can do this in a single transaction. And then when you're opening up the world as EVM is based, you have about, I don't know how many chains. Etherspot right now, I think supports like 15. You know, the old user experience is that every time you want to use a specific chain, what do you need to do? you need to switch networks all the time. In this world, we don't have to do that. The user can actually control a smart contract-based wallet regardless of where they are connected to. So you could be connected to Polygon while executing transactions on Optimism. There's another way of like streamlining the user experience. And then the other thing is gas tokens by itself. Let's say, for example, you want to just use USDC, for example, and you're sending your USDC around, or DAI, or whatever gas token you prefer. Somebody can actually set up any kind of gas token you want. You can even use Pillar if you want. What happens in the background is that the USDC is actually swapped for the gas token in order to pay for the transaction. So the user can actually start their journey with just USDC or DAI or any kind of stable coin. They don't need to know about gas tokens. As long as they topped up their account with any stable coin, they can execute everything. So it's kind of like really getting closer and closer to the user experience that we want from centralized exchanges, where you need to pay for fees, well, commission fees or whatever fees that you're doing for trading. That the same kind of user experience we will also have. So you start off topping up your account, let's say 20 USDC on Polygon, and off you go. You're doing all the actions you want to do. So these are the things that we're trying to fix. And this is where account abstraction comes in. You're abstracting away all the pain points that you are experiencing.
There's been a couple of questions from the community side, so I'm just reading through them right now just to see if we missed anything. And well, one of the questions is obviously security, concerning security right now, with our products in general, but like account abstraction and security for an end user. Does anything change in the meantime once account abstraction goes into like more popular stages and goes widespread? Is it safer for users to use account abstraction or just to stick with the classic ones? And like, what are the pros and cons?
Yeah, it's definitely more secure if it's set up correctly. The reason why that is, it's basically programmable as a smart contract, right? So you can program it to say, I want certain protocols to be whitelisted with my smart contract-based wallet. What that means is that my smart contract-based wallet can only interact with these protocols. Let's say you want to do swapping, etc., etc. You are segregating the actions of what your smart contract-based wallet can do. If somebody, gets access to your signature, or like somebody who's like able to like execute it, they cannot withdraw the funds to another address because they're not part of the whitelisting process. In order to get the funds out, we can set up a 2FA mechanism. For example, we can tie it into a phone number, or somebody else, maybe your friend, that needs to like say like, hey, this is okay for you to do. You contacted me, etc., etc. This is so much better than your old account, because your old account, once your 12 words are compromised, that's it. Your funds are lost. No way to retrieve them. No any way to like get it back. With smart contract based wallets, you can set up daily spending limits. For example, let's say you can only use 100 USDC for swapping that day, or you want to have a recovery process with your friends, or you want to have this 2FA mechanism where you need to like sign off from your mobile device or your desktop, or any kind of method that you're looking for in order to withdraw those funds. So it's much more secure than your traditional MetaMask wallet.
I think that's a good answer. So you mentioned smart wallets a lot, and we talked about EIPs. There's also one important EIP that we briefly mentioned, and it's very important right now for us, especially. And I think it's actually important for every single smart wallet in existence right now, and that will be EIP 1271. Can you tell us what it does and why it's so important for everyone in the space right now, actually?
So following up from what I said earlier, which is that smart contract-based wallets have been treated as second-class citizens because everybody, recommends mostly MetaMask in order to jump into the space. 1271 is basically a standard signature validation procedure for smart contract-based wallets. What that means is, in order to use or interact with a dApp, the dApp needs to support this. The dApp, most of the time, depending on which dApp it is, either support it or they don't support it. What it means if they don't support it is that you cannot interact with this dApp. That means that they only allow EOA accounts to interact with this. So there's a website that we set up actually called the EIP1271.io, where you can see the list of supporters for this standard and projects that are not supporting it currently. And I would encourage everyone to check out that website and ping these other projects and say like, hey, when are you guys going to support this? Because we kind of need this. It's inevitable, really. So this is a dependency that is required from the dApp side in order to interact with this new standard 437 and also the old standard that we're doing. This EIP is, by the way, from 2018. It's quite an old EIP, and it's been around for a while, but projects seem to be resistant to supporting it. So it's required, it's needed, and we need dApps to support it. Otherwise, they're going to miss out. They will miss out because without them supporting it, the users or people that are using smart contract-based wallets, which again is more secure, better user experience, cannot engage with them. That is the premise of this EIP.
Thank you, Alden. In the meantime, while you were speaking, I just added our EIP website in the comments below. So everyone who wants to check out the website for themselves, they can just open the comments and see it. And it's also pinned on top of our page right now. It's also pinned on the Etherspot page as well. So wherever you go, you'll find the website easily. And I think this actually covers most of our account extraction topics talks right now. So if you guys find account extraction and everything surrounding it very interesting, and you think you have certain knowledge of account extraction already and you want to expand it, or even if you are a beginner in account extraction and you want to know about it, we actually write weekly blogs. We write weekly blogs on the Etherspot about account extraction. So we have a weekly specific newsletter, I would call it, where we actually talk about account extraction. We share all the news from the crypto world about account extraction and everything surrounding it. I'll also share the link to our Medium in the description in any second now. Alden, do we have anything more to talk about when it comes to account extraction? Is there anything else you want to share, or should we just go and compare the product to some of our other stuff?
I mean,
talk about product.
There's one item that our CTO partner is working on, which is the bundle service. It's like one aspect of like the 437 proposal, which is these services are also a bit centralized. And the new standard that he's working on with the Ethereum Foundation guys and a couple of other projects is basically allowing us to decentralize this aspect of it, which I think is quite interesting. If people want to know more about this, I would encourage them to go to the Etherspot YouTube channel. There's a good discussions between all the key people from the Ethereum Foundation and a couple of other projects about this new standard that they're building, which I'm quite excited about. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, sorry, just give me a second. I'm trying to share the link to the to our Medium. So there's been a latest blog post, I think from like 5 days ago. Yeah, March 8th, that would be 6 days ago. And it says everything about account extraction, Ethereum updates, ETH Denver, AA grant. There's lots of things going on. With no further ado, let's continue with some tech updates. Alden, you're also here with us. So we did some implementations last month for, if I'm correct, like in the last 2-3 weeks. We did some stuff with the Pillar wallet. Perhaps you want to tell us more about it. There's probably lots of users who never used our wallet before, so I more than encourage you to use it. But let's first show you what we have in store for you guys with the newest update, and then we might convince you to try it out yourself. So Alden, tell us what's going on.
Basically, we released an update that includes a couple of features that I think is quite prudent regarding what happened over the weekend. Over the weekend, we saw the SVB collapse, which had a contagion effect on the stablecoin of USDC losing its peg. It's now normalized again. But we had actually implemented a while back a way to view your portfolio between volatile tokens and stablecoins, because we see always, the premise of stablecoins is the flight to safety, right? So if people become bearish and they think, Ethereum is going to go down or any asset is going to go down, they move into stability of stablecoins. So we've tailored this approach in our wallet quite significantly, where you can see the balance of like how much do you have in volatile tokens and how much do you have in stablecoins. So what happened over the weekend was quite interesting for us because we tailored to this, and what was even more interesting is that what happens if people don't have faith anymore in stablecoins anymore, and this is a problem for the whole industry. And there's a couple of projects that we can discuss about, like which stablecoin should you use, because like USD Tether, for example, was not losing its peg. It didn't have this contagion. But DAI, on the other hand, which has, I think, about 60% of it is backed by USDC, did have this problem. It lost its peg as well. And then there are other new projects that are coming on board called LUSD, like Liquidity, that are fully backed by ETH and didn't have this contagion at all. So one of the main things that we released was this visibility action, where you can see and like break down how much are you in tokens and how much are you in stablecoins. The other one is Arbitrum has not been added. The reason why Arbitrum has been added because Arbitrum is quite stable regarding their gas fees. It's a low-cost chain. It's built on Ethereum as a roll-up, so it carries some of the security aspects over, which is a great addition to us as well. And tracking of your investments is now much more clearer. So if you have staked into Aave or any of your protocols that you're seeing, you should be able to see it now in the wallet as well. So you can analyze your portfolio in one way or another. It's quite a new update on design side. We made it much more cooler, I think, personally. So yeah, I hope everybody enjoys the updates. We're going to be working on more and more stuff that's coming out soon. I won't alpha leak it right now. We'll save it for another time. But yeah, good things are coming.
Thank you, Alden. I have a question because I'm not sure myself. We do have in-app stories where we highlight certain things happening with the wallet. We did post the stories where we mentioned some of the updates going on. Are those stories still up for our perhaps new users who will be joining us soon?
No, but we can turn it back on.
Okay. So I encourage everyone who's new here, who hasn't used the Pillar wallet before, and is perhaps looking for their own smart wallet they can use and show their crypto smarts with. So we have all the information on our website, pillar.fi. You can find every detail there. We're also very much available both on Discord and Telegram and on Twitter, actually. So whenever you have questions, we're going to be very much here to help you out. We update the wallet from time to time, obviously, with some of the newest features being those that Alvin mentioned right now. Sorry, there's some background noise. And yeah, that would be it. I still don't see any questions. In the meantime, I shared with you guys the blog from our Medium about account extraction. So if you want to give it a read, if you find this conversation that we had today very interesting and engaging, do subscribe to our newsletter. We're going to be basically giving you weekly updates on account extraction. So right now with us, you have basically the freshest news and information about account extraction, so you can be on top of the game and know everything that's going on. So there was a raffle going on, and as Link3 states, I'm just reading from Link3 because this was still one of our first calls, and I believe the first raffle that we did. It's a 15 USDC raffle, and the winners of the raffle will be announced after the event ends. I believe I actually manually end the event myself after we close down this Twitter Spaces, so the winners will be announced. Thank you everyone who joined, regardless of if you joined just for the raffle or not. It was a pleasure talking with everyone. Aldin, I'm sure you had a pleasant experience as well.
Yeah. Is there any questions that were submitted before that we need to go through?
There were some from the community side. Let me just see if there's any relevance, because we did answer actually quite a ton of questions that the community asked through simply speaking about everything that's going on. You know, there was talks about security. We addressed security. There was talk about EIPs. There was a question about smart wallets. There was a question about social logins. Actually, the question was like, what else does account extraction offer? We actually answered that in the meantime. So I don't think there's any questions right now, unless the community has any. Let me just double check, just in case. Please give me a moment. Some of them are flagged. So I'm assuming nothing. Yeah, nothing right now. I want to use the stage, but I still have the time. Next Friday, so not this one, but Friday 24th, we'll be probably hosting another one of these calls. So if you guys find this type of podcast / community call interesting, do keep that in mind, as we'll be probably doing another raffle like this one. And I hope to see you guys there as well. That will be it from our side. This call will be recorded and will be uploaded to YouTube, so everyone can, going back and hear some of the stuff they want to hear again, or perhaps if you missed the call and join us late, you can catch up on the beginning. So don't worry about that. It should be online tomorrow by the last and maybe even today if I'm fast enough. But expected to see it tomorrow. Alden, anything else you want to share, or should we close it down?
No, thanks everybody for joining, and talk to you soon.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I hope to see you next Friday then. And in the meantime, do visit our website, do visit our blog, do visit everything that we share with you guys. There's been a lot of things that we wanted to show you, and we'll be showing you more next Friday. So thank you, everyone, for joining, and see you next time.